Good day YouTube. In today's video, I just like to run through a recent battle, a recent round that I've been through a couple of days ago, and hopefully provide some learning points from a healer's POV. My main is Jeff the Shark, so I'm usually positioned right at the back of the team, and I have the privilege to actually observe the changes, the tides of the battle, and to be able to see actually why certain things work the way that they do, and why certain things don't work, and why we eventually lost the battle. And hopefully as I do this little walkthrough, I can bring some value and some insight to you as a player for Marvel Rivals itself. Okay, so without further ado, right, let's go through. Now, a very fundamental concept of Marvel Rivals battle is that if you are defending, you need to understand the concept of a choke point. Choke points are areas in which opponents definitely have to go through. It's very difficult for them to flank, and it is in your interest to be in a good battle formation, hold your ground, and to hold these choke points as long as possible. So in this particular map over here, right, the courtyard, as you see in front, is a very invaluable choke point right at the start of the battle. It is not one that you can hold for too long because the opponents respawn and travel a far shorter distance than you. But in this case, the battle formation should be such that your tanks are in front, your DPS in the middle, and then the healers at the back. A very conventional battle formation, and the healers like Jeff the Shark would be able to heal both the DPS and the tanks at the same time while dealing damage to the opponents as well, and try not to let the enemy vanguards have any significant form of breakthrough that could disrupt your battle formation, as you see that they have done quite successfully over here. Fortunately, I was able to get my ultimate going and to be able to take out two of the opponents, but like I said, even though it's 2 for 1, I have to travel a far greater distance as compared to my opponents in the respawn. So this really doesn't bring any privilege or any advantage to the side of my team. I have to quickly just swim back to the battlefield itself to try to provide aid for my teammates. Okay. And a good thing is, in my absence, my teammates have actually tried to consolidate in the secondary choke point, which is at the courtyard here, the first point which the opponents have to capture. By hook or by crook, people from the other side will have to venture through this particular gateway. So again, we should not push too aggressively far in front. We should actually be behind the gateway to hold it. And Penny Parker is doing her thing again, managed to push through with her ultimate and disrupt my flow as a healer. I'm no longer able to heal my teammates quite as readily. I have to make a quick escape as they hunt after me and find a safe spot to be able to go to while waiting for my other teammates to respawn. That's probably the most sensible thing to do at this point, right? I can be a little bit of a nuisance to my opponents, but eventually I have to wait for my teammates to consolidate. As you can see, Winter Soldier here is a little bit unaware of where he's supposed to be going, so the rest of the team managed to find a tertiary choke point over here where the payload starts to move. Now, we are in a little bit of a disarray. Ideally, we should all be behind this choke point, behind the gateway. But as you can see, our Vanguard and Duelists have committed themselves far too much ahead of us and allowing the opponents to cut off the healer and the DPS. And in this case, I'm completely isolated. I cannot be of any help to my teammate because the gaps have been exploited and magic is coming after me. I have to focus more on getting out of harm's way, healing myself, waiting for the rest of my teammates to respawn. And my Iron Man teammate, right, as you can see over here, is a Maverick out on his own. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's just trying to up his own KDA. He's totally unaware of where the rest of his teammates are. Yeah, so yeah. And Magic is still on my tail, and at this point I'm getting a little bit annoyed with her, so I just take her out of the picture while my teammates do come back. Okay, we are not in the best of formations. I only have one DPS in front of me, and Iron Man is, as usual, out on his own. Winter Soldier is very weak and not close enough to the healers. I exploit and use my ultimate, but due to bad luck and bad positioning, I was only able to take out one player, which is Magic itself. Okay, and I have to just quickly respawn and get back into the battle again. Now, coming back into the battle, in my absence, I could see that my teammates have successfully managed to push the opponents back. But again, I would have implored them to just retreat back a little bit. This area over here, this flat ground, is not an ideal place to hold your opponents because there are several ways in which they can flank you. As you can see later, what we should have done is to push further back and get the high ground. High ground is always good, yeah? So, as a result of having too big a gap, and our tanks and DPS being killed, we again lost this particular valuable high ground. Penny Parker doing her thing, very successfully using her ult to exploit and bash through our front line as well as the back line. So again, we lost yet another choke point over here, when what the team should have done, right, is to just gather and don't be so restless and so enthusiastic in pushing ahead. So at this particular point of the battle, right, we are kind of like all over the place. As usual, I don't know what Iron Man is doing. I have to do a quick survey to try to find out where the rest of my teammates are and to secure the next choke point, which is within the building itself. And in order to do so, I will have to stay alive, swim, and just have a survey where the opponents are. They are mostly on the outside, whereas my teammates are busy respawning. So I'll just be a little bit of a nuisance. And okay, what we should have done is to be aware that the steps over here is the best choke point, because at this point, okay, let me pause the video and go back for a little bit. This particular staircase is where all your opponents, your antagonists, have to eventually climb up, and it is a very good place for you to be able to hold your ground. But the teammates are kind of like all over the place and the gaps can be exploited. Then Mr. Fantastic, who is the MVP of their side, is very good at exploiting the gap between DPS and healer. They push ahead very aggressively, so essentially I get cut off from the rest of my teammates, and there's a limitation to how much healing I can do. Once my own teammates get taken out, then my safety spot over here will quickly become very vulnerable, as you can observe over here. Once there's no more distraction, I get caught out in the open, and there I go. Alright, so quickly respawn again and try to rejoin the rest of my teammates. Okay, so I'm trying to do mass healing. This is good. You see, when teammates are clustered, I can heal a lot of people together. I used my ultimate. I was very fortunate to get 3 of them at the same time, and this is the perfect time for us to recruit, because 1 for 3, I was able to take 3 of the opponents out. And if we were just to hold ground within the final chamber itself, right, and to prevent any opponents from entering through the main gate, I think we should be able to hold this out. We have like 2.5 minutes to go, and this should have been the turning point of the battle for our side. As you can see, the opponents, they are actually quite clever. They are using whatever teleportation means they have to try to break into this room, because they know that the gateway is a bottleneck and extremely difficult to come through. Magic appeared from nowhere. I was very lucky to be able to escape, and then the rest of my teammates are holding ground, and we are quite successful in taking out quite a number of the opponents. Once we're able to take out Mr. Fantastic, right, then we know that we are able to repel this particular round quite successful. I'll go after the raccoon. And after that, I am a little bit relentless. Maybe I should not have done this, but I went ahead anyway to just get rid of the final member. Okay, now at this point over here, what we should do is to just retreat and go back to the chamber again, because yeah, you see they still have the thing. Okay, we should have just stayed within the chamber itself and hold ground. And what we do when we push too far ahead is we start to open up the gaps among our rank and present our vulnerability for exploitation, and opponents have very good players who are very sensitive to these vulnerabilities. Very soon Penny Parker will be coming and using the Vanguard again. As you can see over here, it's been used 3 to 4 times very successfully to just disrupt our formation. We were never really able to counter Penny Parker, because we don't have like a Namor or somebody that can just shoot at Penny Parker non-stop. And so once our ranks are in disarray, I'm not able to heal our members. They flood the entire chamber with all their members, and we just threw it. They won it in the very last second with the last effort, right? But kudos to the other team. They obviously have much better teamwork, much better players who are able to exploit our vulnerabilities. So the takeaway lesson from this particular round, right, is that always be aware, regardless of whether you're playing as a Vanguard or Duelist, be aware of where the choke points are. Because if you don't know where the choke points are, you'll be just wandering around in an arbitrary fashion, just going after opponents to kill for your own KDA statistic without actually bringing value to the team. Whereas your healers will be in a position where they cannot support you because you're going too far ahead. And there are gaps will start to open up between Vanguard Duelists, between Duelists and Strategists. And if you have good opponents on the other side, they exploit these gaps and take out your healers. Essentially, you are just losing ground unnecessarily in double quick time. Okay, so I hope that this particular video and this walkthrough is of some value to you. I see you in the next video, guys. Thank you so much and goodbye.